Leave us your voicemail at 219-2-DAVID-P. Here's one voicemail that I got asking about the gold standard.
Hey, David and Louis. This is Xavier Onassis. Listen, I'm calling to see if you can clarify something for me that Ron Paul talks about. I know most of what he says is very silly, but I don't understand the concept of going to the gold standard, and what is that all about? If you could sort of do a primer for that on those of us with no economic background, that'd be great. Thank you. Keep up the good work. Bye.
All right, so the quick story on the gold standard. The gold standard is a monetary system where the amount of currency in circulation is based on a gold backing. In other words, if you have $10 million in bills floating around, it is actually backed by $10 million in gold. Now, it can also be not on a one-to-one basis. It can be a fractional gold standard. There's a number of other variations. We have been off the gold standard for a long time. The idea is that it actually makes money worth something versus just the promise to pay in a way that, if there is no confidence, actually has no value because it's backed by gold. That's the long and short of it. I mean, we could do hours and hours of pros and cons and history of the gold standard. That's the long and short of it.
Yeah, I think the corporate infrastructure in this country would not exist if we were on the gold standard.
Well, there's a lot of
banks. Yeah. I mean, banks, the financials. It would be completely different.
Well, debt. This is also very tied into the fractional reserve system in banks and the idea, the ability to create money from money. We don't have time to get in very deep, but there's a lot to be said about it. That's the idea. Money in circulation backed by actual gold or precious metals. On Nazi John Demjanjuk, Terry says, this guy is old and I feel bad that he's ill. But then again, so many people that he helped to kill were as well. He needs to live out the rest of his days in prison. If he has amnesia, lock him up in an old person's home. Yes, what he did was heinous, but if he genuinely has no memory, then what use is it locking him up in prison? Maybe it's not for him. Maybe it's for the families of the victims. Why would I pay money to support a dying man? If you're going to do anything, cleave his head off. He's just taking my money. Capital punishment, I guess.
Taxpayer money.
Cruel and unusual. And on the Cook brothers buying professors at Florida State, this is pretty scary. How many more rich ideologues are going to invade schools? This could be opening up the door to many rich ideologues trying to influence higher education by simply trying to buy professors. That's the scary thing.
So clearly there needs to be some type of legislation to avoid this.
Maybe there does. And on the topic of Ron Paul, I disagreed with Ron Paul's statement that if you legalize heroin, nobody else would use it. David Pakman, he never said that nobody would use heroin if it were legal. He said people who don't want to use it today won't start simply because it's legal.
And we're saying yes, they will.
And I'm saying yes, that some people will.
Many people will.
Not everybody, you're right, but many people will. And it's funny, he complains about growing federal power, but uses it to his benefit, but wants to grow state and local power. Okay, well, getting into a more wonky argument about Ron Paul. I think the bottom line with Ron Paul is he has no chance, and he can say whatever he wants, which is great. New show in a couple days.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.